Hi everyone, I'm Katya and welcome back to Living to the Fullest. And today's video is a continuation of my French recipe series, which I started off this fall season, with making a beef bourguignon from scratch using Julia Child recipe. And today I'm going to continue with a French recipe, and this one is provided by Irina Garten in her cookbook Barefoot in Paris. And something I like to do in the fall is browse through a lot of my old cookbooks, a lot of old recipes that I have handwritten or printed out, and just try to find recipes that either inspire me or maybe challenge me a little bit, try to create something a little bit different, and try to challenge myself and try new recipes that I haven't done before. You know, instead of your traditional oatmeal raisin cookies, for example, this year I made a batch of pumpkin spice latte cookies and froze them. So I thought, okay, well, maybe I should challenge myself and find a dish that I've never prepared before, but sounds delicious and sounds festive. And what I found is her spinach puff pastry recipe. It's a French version, so it will have nuts in it and some nutmeg and some of those savory spices, but it's gonna be done in a pre-made puff pastry that you buy frozen. It's gonna save a little bit on time there, but I'm excited to do her recipe and just try out something new, especially since I love French food in general. So making a homemade version of it is exciting to me. And I love cooking with puff pastry. I love eating puff pastry. I think a lot of people do. And I think during the holiday season, why not indulge? And by holidays, I mean everything starting from Halloween parties in October all the way through Thanksgiving and into Christmas and New Year's. So I'm going to open up her recipe and I'm just going to read from her recipe what we're going to need. 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter. I always use salted. 2 cups of chopped onions, which I will chop up right now. And we're going to basically just saute them lightly on the stove. Then you need 2 boxes of 10-ounce frozen spinach, drained, defrosted and drained. A 1/3 cup of green onions. So I'm going to chop up these ones that I have collected from my planters outside. We're gonna do 1 cup of Gruyère cheese, 3/4 cups of grated Parmesan cheese. But I would think if you love Parmesan and you love the saltiness of it, then you go ahead and go for a full cup. And Gruyère is very similar to a mild cheddar, I would say, or a Swiss cheese. So if you have a different hard cheese, it would still work in this recipe pretty much. You're just not sticking to the recipe exactly. 4 extra large eggs, I've got them here, coming to room temp, but they don't necessarily need to be. An extra egg for your egg wash, a tablespoon of breadcrumbs, I gotta get that out of the pantry, salt and pepper, ground nutmeg. Oh, mine expired last month, so this might be my last piece of it. 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. It's very strong. It's a very strong flavor, so you don't need much. And a 1/4 cup of toasted pine nuts. So we're gonna toast these on a smaller pan, and then 1 egg for the egg wash with a tablespoon of water on it. The egg wash will also help seal the edges. So when we get to that part, I'll show you. It's gonna be 375 for 40 minutes. So I'm gonna put the recipe over here aside and just start cooking. And I think today, let's cook and talk. I haven't done a recipe with me being on camera in a while, honestly, because I think I've said it before, with a 4-year-old son, he's usually near the kitchen area, so you will always hear some kind of background noise just from him playing with his toys, talking, watching something on TV, or just pretending and making all sorts of animal noises, dinosaur noises when he's playing with his toys. So it's hard for me to edit that out as I'm speaking. And so that's why I did a lot of voiceovers. But the tricky thing about voiceovers, and I think this is true for anybody that has a food blog, food channel, or even lifestyle blog, is that after you edit everything together, it takes even more time to then very exactly line up what you're saying with what you're doing with your hands. So, you know, you're chopping up an onion, the video might only be 10 seconds, but you're talking in 15 seconds. So now you have to go back, either say it in a shorter way or slow-mo your video. And it's just constant back and forth. And I realized I don't even like that look of it. It doesn't look even. And it also is just really hard to edit in that way, at least for me. So I'm gonna try something new. I've seen other food bloggers who just put a camera on and the entire video is just them talking. There's no cutaways, there's no zoom ins into the stove or anything like that, maybe rarely, or zooming into the ingredients. It's really just more of a talking style video. So that's what I'm gonna try because I don't have a lot of time to edit, okay? I have a full-time job and I have a toddler, so whew, I need to step away for a second and get some water because these onions are strong. I'm gonna use my little scooper here. Honestly, I don't know if we're gonna need the full 2 onions. The pastry sheet that I bought, I thought it was larger, but it's actually gonna be a little bit smaller than 2 sheets. Mine is like a long sheet, but it's just 1 piece. So it might actually be less dough than what's in the recipe. So we'll see. We'll roll it out and see how much dough we have. You just want equal parts, and it'll be either a rectangular shape or square shape. I mean, really, you can make this into a pie too if you wanted to. Really doesn't matter. One thing I forgot to grab is I forgot to grab my puck of garlic. So let me get that out. Okay, just regular garlic powder. I need to buy some that's roasted. I prefer that. But, you know, let's just do a scoop of this. So back to the editing conversation. With a lot going on in life, you know, and also taking care of a house, keeping up with your partner and making time for them, making time with your child, making time to call and talk to your friends and your parents and worrying about your parents. It's a lot. It's a lot for anyone to do in this age, and I'm an older millennial, so I'll just leave it at that. We've got lots going on every day, so I don't have time to edit, but I like this format. I like cooking. I like sharing recipes with you. So, you know, I just have to find ways to have the least amount of editing in my videos and try to just make it flow without having to do too many cutaways and things like that. And then also probably less music, because music, for anyone that has tried to do a YouTube video, TikTok video, literally anything, is just a headache. I mean, you don't know if you're allowed to use this copyright allowable music or not. Sometimes YouTube tags you for a copyrighted song, even though you found it in their library that says not copyrighted. And so you just never know. And the music doesn't really matter to me that much because I want to focus on the food and, you know, and we can just chat. So I think not having to deal with music either or any kind of sound effects really, other than just the cooking of the food, will also save me time, because what you don't realize also is that when you add music, you want to make sure the volume matches your voice. It has to maybe start lower as you start speaking, get louder as you're doing closing photos or closing shots. And again, you're in that app, whether it's on a laptop or on your phone, you're in that app and all you're doing is, you know, volume to 60, volume to 100, volume to 60, volume to 100. Then you have to cut the song too in a way that makes sense. So you're basically adding a third layer of editing to it on top of your slow-mo or sped up video segments and your voiceover. You're then adding music, which creates a third layer of things you have to edit. So I decided to simplify things and do away with that. So for trying this video, I'm not gonna do any cutaways other than when I maybe misspeak or something, or just go off on a random tangent, then I'll edit myself out. But that goes much quicker than trying to go over your entire video, even if it's like 20, 30 minutes, to then record audio over it and make sure it's timed correctly. It's very tedious, and it takes me double or triple the time it took to actually record the video to then edit it and then have it YouTube ready with a title, with all of that, with hashtags. And I realized, why am I doing that? Let's just simplify the process. And in fact, these onions are getting to me again, so I'm gonna get some water. In fact, I'm trying to do that with my life overall. Simplify. Shorter hair, easier makeup, outfits that I go to, especially for, you know, hey, I'm going to the gym, this is my outfit, and every Monday it's gonna be the same outfit. Same thing with work, just easy casual clothes that are easy and ready to go. Same thing for my child, easy outfits, everything can match, everything matches with everything else. I love that because we all need some simplicity in our lives, don't you think? Things have just gotten too busy, too planned out, too elaborate, and we don't, in my opinion, in my life, at this point in my life, at this stage of my life, in this season of life, I want simplicity. Share your thoughts. What do you think? Do you think sometimes it's nice to, I believe it is nice to dress up sometimes and things like that, but we don't always need to have these elaborate things planned out, whether it's the idea of maybe a YouTube video that I have in my mind versus in reality the amount of time I actually have to edit it and to make it interesting and make it educational for the viewer without putting too much stress and I guess not just stress, but just taking time away from me in the day to then edit them. And it kind of defeats the whole point because this is a hobby I want to enjoy, both cooking and recording YouTube videos and sharing the YouTube videos. But when it becomes a chore and it becomes something you dread, like, oh, it's going to take me this long. I recorded it 30 minutes, Saturday morning, but I may not even be done with editing it until Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. Then I'm not uploading it in a efficient or speedy way. And also it just drags on for days, and I don't like that. I'm the kind of person that just wants everything done efficiently and now. So I have to then weigh out my options and just simplify certain things. So I'm doing away with music, and I'm doing away with all these zoom ins and zoom outs and close ups and things like that. I don't think it's necessary. And I think the same kind of applied to me with fall decorations this year. There were other years where I'd have a pumpkin in every single room and some kind of Halloween decoration in every single room. And I realized this year too is that necessary? Okay, I'm adding the onions in now. So, simplicity. And I think we can all use more of that for sure. With the decorations, what I meant to say is I just decided, I don't need a pumpkin in every room, every bathroom, on every table. I think I went a little heavy with Christmas last year. I made 6 Christmas videos on YouTube. I went to so many Christmas stores, and I was kind of tired of Christmas by the end of it. And I think it's kind of feeding a little bit into pumpkin season this year and Halloween. But because of my son, he's so excited about Halloween, I'm going to lean into Halloween. But Halloween is really going to live more outside. We're going to decorate the outside more. But I don't need to go around every room and make sure there's Halloween table in every room. It's just, for me, again, it's too much, and I'm trying to simplify things. So even though I had 2 large bins of fall decorations, everything from about half of it is Halloween, about half of it is just fall, just your regular, pumpkins and gourds and things like that. Artificial flowers, but like with the dried out look. And I only took out half of them, maybe not even half, maybe like a third. So, and I'm okay with that. Again, simplifying things. So I'm grating a cup of Gruyère right now. I could measure it, but I'm pretty sure that's about a cup. If you love cheese, go a little heavier on the cheese. So that's my Gruyère, and my Parmesan I'm gonna grate on my microplane. This is a microplane from Rachel Ray. It's a great brand. I recommend it to any cook, home cook, amateur cook, whatever, professional. I love it because it's a little bit larger than your traditional microplane, and you can grate going both ways. It grates as you go up and down, not just down, okay? The grips allow it to sit nicely over a bowl like this, or even on the stove. If you're cooking something, if you got your meatballs cooking on a pan, you could just stick that in there and grate right over it, which is really nice. And it's dishwasher safe, which is also nice, because who likes cleaning something that's this sharp? You gotta wash the tips of your fingers though. I wouldn't grate garlic on this because it just they're sharp, so I would use a garlic press. But in theory, you could also do garlic on it. Grate anything, any zest, anything of that sort. And it has 2 different textures. Smaller texture here, and this one's more like a shaving. So I love to do Parmesan cheese right here on this shaving. And things like chocolate would work well here too. We're just sauteing them to make them translucent and soft and a little sweeter. I'm gonna grab breadcrumbs and I'm gonna preheat my oven, and I'll be right back. So the rest of the Gruyere, you can just put it back in you can put it in wax paper, parchment paper, baking paper, or in my case, I just put it in a plastic bag because I like that cheese, so we go through it relatively quickly. You could also freeze cheese. You know, if you got a huge block of Parmesan or something, cheese is something that you can freeze, and it thaws out pretty nicely. Mozzarella cheese, the hard version, not fresh, but the hard mozzarella freezes well also. So now for Parmesan, we need 3/4 cup. Now again, I'm thinking since we're going with less onions, we probably don't need that much Parmesan. I'm gonna do only 1/2 cup. I don't need it to be super salty. I really want the flavor of the spinach to come through. Spinach is something I love. I love sauteing spinach. I love spinach as a side or mixed into an omelet, spinach in a fresh salad. I mean, I just love spinach. I'm one of those people. If you gave me an option between kale and spinach, I'm gonna pick spinach. It's used in a lot of Italian soups, like I believe Italian wedding soup, zuppa toscana. You could take out the kale and replace it with spinach. And there's a couple of like chilies that I make a healthier version with turkey meat, ground turkey, and there too you can add spinach or kale for extra green goodness. That's about half. I'm gonna say that's about half. And I'm gonna pop this in the sink. They're getting translucent, and so here we go. I'm just gonna bring it to the screen so you can see what you want it to look like. We're gonna leave it on the stove to cool down a little bit because you don't want super hot vegetable mix of any kind to be in your pastry that's supposed to be super cold. So keep your pastry chilled. If it was already frozen, defrost it overnight or over a couple of days in your fridge. I forgot to defrost mine, so I'm just letting it come to room temp. I'm gonna check on it. Yeah, it's coming along. But yeah, I think I essentially only bought one piece. I didn't realize that. Hey, that's what happens when you order things on Instacart and you imagine something, and then when it gets to your house, it's something else. And do I love the convenience of Instacart? Yes, I do. Because when you're a mama and you're tired from work and you got to go get your kiddo from daycare or from whatever activity they're at, or possibly even an appointment that you have to take them to. And I consider even haircuts an appointment. Those are just things you have to take your child to. It can be so many things during the week that by 5:30, I'm not about to go to the grocery store and spend another hour, an hour and a half shopping, paying for it, loading it, unloading it. So I get Instacart when I can, and I usually just get my staple items, you know, vegetables, eggs, milk, blah, 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 and then certain specific things for a specific recipe. For example, tomorrow I'm going to be making loaded nachos. So loaded nachos, I usually make with ground beef, but you can use ground chicken, ground pork. So if I don't have that item or I don't have it in the freezer, then I add it to my Instacart. That's kind of how I do it. So that like Wednesday, I don't have to go shopping. Instacart will just deliver whatever to me. And there's no fee if it's over $35. So if you just kind of save your list up and then get your $35, and there's no fee. So that's a nice convenience that I like. And I also love curbside pickup. Again, anyone with the toddlers, especially if you have more than one child and they're like under 5, you do not want to get out of that car. I mean, you do not want to get out of the car. Not only is it my toy has to come with me, my this has to come with me, then you have to make sure you have, you know, wipes on hand, extra outfit, blah, blah, blah. You're basically walking around with a diaper bag until they're 5, 6 years old and are in school. And so I love the convenience of sometimes pre-ordering things like paper towels, cleaning, household cleaning supplies and things like that, and do Target curbside pickup or Sam's curbside pickup. Very convenient. So that's just a tip for any mamas out there that just don't have the time. I don't think you need to feel guilty about it, and also I don't think you need to explain yourself. And I also just sharing that tip out there. Maybe some people I think you have to have a membership to everything to not have fees. Sam's Club is an annual membership, but then the curbside pickup is free and it's included. They used to have free shipping too, but now there's a minimum. And Target, if you're a Target Rewards member, also has curbside pickup. Sometimes it has a minimum, sometimes it doesn't. So it just kind of depends. So sometimes I think to save your sanity, just pay a little extra, make your little shopping cart and have it delivered to your house. Okay, so these are pine nuts. I'm gonna toast them. These are so gentle, I would say, that you wanna toast them on a really low heat. Keep an eye on them because they might burn quickly. So you just wanna toast them just a minute or two. So next, I might as well make my egg wash now. Okay, crack an egg. She said just a little bit of water, so. And so for me, this style of video really works when I plan it out so that I'm the only one here at the house. And so it generally is either when my son is out playing, his dad takes him on an activity, or when he's at daycare. But I understand other girls and women have channels, and it's hard for them to find a time to film where you're completely uninterrupted, even for 30 minutes. So it's tricky. It's not always perfect, and that's why for me, sometimes I only upload once a month. So a total of about 20 ounces of frozen spinach. Or you could probably use fresh and just wilt it down a little bit so that it's not fresh. And in the recipe, it says to strain it a little bit, but not take out all the moisture out of it. You want it to have a little bit of moisture. You don't want it completely dry. So in other words, you don't need to put something heavy on it or anything like that to make it super dry. Just enough of the frozen water that's melted off. And that's what I'm doing. And it's still pretty moist. So that's how I'm gonna put it in here. Whenever I have anything draining in the colander, I put a dish under it instead of leaving it in the sink. And another thing I like to do is now I lay out towels. Like I lay out towels every time I'm preparing something. This ensures not just quicker cleanup, because you just spray it down and then use the same towels to clean everything up, you know, with the side that wasn't dirty. But especially when baking, I've realized if you're dealing with a lot of powder products, you've got flour, you've got baking powder, baking soda, sugar, all those things that are grainy and powdery, using a towel is great because it kind of absorbs it. You can even put a damp towel down and it absorbs it better before it just kind of flies off your counter and onto your floor. So I've noticed I had way less floor mess when I used towels on my entire island when I was making a large batch of cookies to freeze for the holidays. So let me know if you all want to see one of my cookie videos. I have one on chocolate chip cookies that I made probably a year ago, and that's my go-to favorite, all-time favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe that I've ever found that I've made. And I've tweaked it a little bit over the years, so the recipe that's on my video, in my video library, is the one that's my favorite, the favorite version of it. So try it out. But if you want me to show you how to make other cookies, let me know. A little bit more brown, but not too bad. Like that. It's not too bad. Now, she also said you could serve this warm, or you should serve it warm. But I think a pastry like this, and I grew up in Ukraine eating a lot of pastries like this because we make vegetable pies. That's a big thing in Ukraine. A really popular one is stuffed with mushrooms, and it's like in a pastry dough. It can be fluffy pastry, it can just be regular pie dough. And there's also a pie that's, I think, cabbage and meat, or just cabbage. So those are popular. This recipe kind of reminds me of that. So I think this will be really tasty. But what I do know is those pies, when my grandmother made them, for example, that were stuffed with mushrooms, sauteed mushrooms, she didn't serve it warm. Sometimes they were room temperature, sometimes they were out of the fridge. So I'm hoping this will last a couple of days in the fridge. And I guess if someone wanted to eat it warm, then you could warm it up in the microwave or on the stove. So my oven's done preheating, and let me get to the next steps before I talk myself into another tangent. To this, I'm going to add even more pepper. I go a little heavy on the pepper because I like pepper. Yeah, probably another pinch of salt. Okay. Nutmeg, half a teaspoon. Okay, let's do it. Half a teaspoon it is. But I only used 1.5 onions, so I think it was enough. I probably could have chopped them a little bit finer, but it is what it is. Oh my gosh, nutmeg just smells like Thanksgiving. It's wonderful. And I love fall also because I love the cooling of the temperature. I love the changing of the leaves. I live in Middle Tennessee, so we see all 4 seasons, which is really nice. Other places I've lived in my life, you didn't have seasons. Florida, for example, it's just summer all year long. I also love fall. I've always loved fall because it was the beginning of school, and I love going to school. So I always loved September 1st, back to school. My birthday's in September, and so, hello, starting a school year with my birthday always was great too. And then it leads right into October, which is all the fun fall festivals, all the pumpkin patches, apple orchard picking. Then you've got Halloween, then you've got Thanksgiving, and then that's kind of the end of your fall, and then you go right into the winter holidays. But I just love fall. I just love it. So I have one pumpkin here in the kitchen. So the kitchen only has one pumpkin. This is to explain to you how minimalistic I went this year, because I think other years I normally would have a pumpkin probably on every cabinet, like signs, fall, happy fall, hello fall, everywhere. And then on top of it, orange everything, orange towels, blah, blah, blah. I'm going a little bit more minimal this year. So I have fresh flowers, a fall candle, and one pumpkin. And that's all I'm putting that's fall related in this kitchen. Because I also notice mentally, when I see a lot of clutter, it stresses me out. And then I don't even want to be in the kitchen. So I can only function in the kitchen, not just right now on YouTube, but even in my regular day-to-day. I get up, I make coffee. If the kitchen's a mess, I'm already stressed out. So I realized I have to keep it minimalistic. We cannot have every possible appliance out on the counters. We cannot have X amount of decorations and things on the counter, because it does look cluttered, and on top of that, it stresses me out. So again, going back to simplifying things. I think we should probably chill it. Show you what I'm doing. I'm just scraping it all down. Okay, not all the garlic came out. I guess I could go get a spatula, but I'm not going to. But I just saw that the garlic powder really stuck to the pan, so I maybe should have just powdered in here. And that's the other thing I love about cooking, is that you're almost teaching yourself these different tricks, and it's kind of like a trial and error sometimes. Even reading a recipe, you may either do something that's not what the recipe says, or you're missing a certain ingredient. So you have to learn how to improvise. And I enjoy that part about cooking too, because sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised that maybe adding something else makes it taste better. And then that's the version I go with. Like, I'll give you an example. Recently, I didn't have the ingredients to make ranch. And one of the main ingredients traditionally is mayonnaise. I didn't have mayonnaise. So I could either make mayonnaise, which I've done that before, but I decided to just do it without mayonnaise. And what I used instead is about 1/2 cup of sour cream and 1/4 cup of buttermilk. If you don't have buttermilk, like a kefir would also work. And mix that all up, put in the ranch seasoning, your dill, parsley, salt, pepper, garlic, onion, and it was delicious. And it was actually very light, and it reminded me kind of a salad dressing I ate a long time ago at one of those salad bars where you go make your own salad bar, and they had basically a creme fraiche dressing. And so creme fraiche is kind of a version of sour cream. So anyway, that was a happy coincidence that I didn't have mayonnaise. So instead I used sour cream and buttermilk, which is what I had. That's all I had. And the actual dressing ended up even better. So that is now my go-to ranch dressing. Okay, so this is what our filling is looking like. I'm pretty sure I got all the ingredients in there, but just let me check. The cheeses, the eggs, 1 tablespoon of breadcrumbs. This is what's gonna dry the ingredients out a little bit because, you know, the eggs are moist and also the spinach went in not fully dried. So you do need a little bit of, I can see why you would add breadcrumbs, because you need something a little bit just thicker. The bread of it will make it a little bit thicker, especially as it bakes. And this is what it looks like. But I'm actually gonna go ahead and scoop in another tablespoon, because just me eyeing it just like this, I can tell it needs a little bit more breadcrumb. I make meatballs the same way. I don't measure the breadcrumbs. I just keep adding until I see the texture thick enough to where I can form the meatballs in my hands, and they're not falling apart. And same thing when I make Ukrainian kotlety. They're Ukrainian or Russian kotlety. They're kind of like meatballs, but instead of the Italian spices, you add Ukrainian spices, dill, parsley. You leave out the breadcrumbs, but you add in bread that's been soaked in milk, and you squeeze out the milk and you just put in the soft bread, and that's what makes them really tender and really delicious. So if you never tried a kotlety, go ahead and make one. Look up a recipe, and down the road I will bring in more Russian recipes for sure to all you guys. And Russian recipes are very similar to Ukrainian, Polish, so I would just say that whole general area of the Slavic region, Eastern European region, they have a lot of similar recipes or slight variations, but they're essentially the same thing. But I want to bring some of those traditional recipes to you guys on this channel. I only filmed maybe about 4 recipes that were Ukrainian so far, and some of them I'm speaking in Russian in those videos, but I can certainly bring more of the recipes to you, even if they're in English. And a nice thing I also learned recently about YouTube is that YouTube has added this new setting to a YouTube video. So you as the audience, if you're watching someone and they're speaking in their specific language, and it doesn't matter where in the region in the world you are, if you want to see subtitles maybe in your native language. So for example, Russian-speaking people watching me now may want to hear what I'm saying, but in Russian. So all you have to do is go to your settings, click auto translation, and then click select language. And then you would select Russian, for example. And YouTube, this is not me writing those subtitles, just YouTube and whatever AI tool they're using will create those subtitles below what I'm saying. Kind of like captions are auto-created, but if I'm speaking English, then the captions are in English. But now they have that auto-translation option. So just something to keep in mind, especially since I know a lot of Russian-speaking people watch this channel too. I mean, including my mom and dad. So, okay. We've got this together. Well, let me get the puff pastry over here, and we'll pop this in the fridge for just a bit. I'm bad at moving things out to the garage, because in the garage we have a deep freezer. So in addition to this freezer, we have a deep freezer. In addition to this fridge, we have a full-size fridge, only fridge, out in the garage. So, because we like to buy things in bulk, and we just always have a lot of things on hand. Especially when I cook, I have to have a little bit of everything. I have to have every type of condiment, because if I don't have it on hand, then I can't make the recipe. Whether I'm filming or not, I cook regardless of whether I'm filming or not, to put it that way. So, and I like to have all my ingredients, everything from like a soy sauce to a red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar, champagne vinegar. I like all those little things. As long as they don't expire fast, I usually have a bottle on hand at all times. Another thing I just stocked up on recently is I stocked up on flour and sugar. I bought a 10-pound bag of flour at Sam's. I don't know, maybe another COVID will happen. You never know. You just never know. So I like to keep things stocked up in my pantry. And then I also bought a big, basically a bulk size, I guess 12 cans of corn, 12 cans of tomato sauce, and 12 cans of canned chopped tomatoes. So those are essentials. I use that in almost every recipe. I put tomato in almost everything, into a soup. Fresh tomatoes for when I'm making like loaded nachos. But if I was making like a Mexican soup or stew, then I would add the canned tomatoes, just for ease. And they also have extra flavors in them, so that's also nice too. Like they are pre-seasoned with like basil and whatnot. This is already getting a little too warm. So if that happens to you and you left it out too long, all you have to do, keep it on the pan. Don't carry it like this. I've done that before. It'll rip it, okay? If it's frozen and you try to unroll it too fast, it'll also rip. It'll actually crack because it's a very delicate pastry. So I say put it in the freezer for another 2 minutes. And while it's doing that, I'm gonna clean up and then I'll come back to you in about 2-5 minutes when that gets a little bit more frozen and easier to roll out. And I'll put a little bit of flour over here on this counter space. So here I am recording this on a Saturday, and well, I have a little bit over an hour at the house free. I mean, alone in the kitchen. So we'll see how long it takes me to edit it. I'll see if I can actually get it done in just a couple of days, or at least time how long it actually takes me to edit this video without music, and just chopping out anything that's tedious, like clean up. But again, I'm not going to do any cutaways. I'm not going to speed anything up. It's just going to be conversational like this. I hope you guys like this format. So while we're still waiting for my dough to chill a little bit more, because it's not going to roll if it's too soft. So just remember that. Same thing with cookie dough. Someone I want to acknowledge is, I mentioned her channel a long time ago on this channel. Her name is Irina, and her channel is called Наша жизнь в Германии, Our Life in Germany. And she's a Russian-speaking woman with her children and her husband, who immigrated to Germany a few years back. But her channel started off mostly as a culinary channel, and now turned into basically a life and family channel, and cooking as well. So I love that. And something just made me want to send her a little care package. I think she had started to almost feel lost in the YouTube world. I would say maybe discouraged. And I can totally understand that, because you have haters, you have hate comments. You sometimes are even wondering, what are you doing? Why are you on YouTube? Maybe your subscriber counts aren't increasing. Maybe you just don't have time for YouTube. Why not just be done with it? I've thought over this year and a half, many times, I've just given up. I've thought, I'm just going to cancel. I'm just going to close it, shut it down, be done with it, and not even think about it anymore. But something told me, no, just keep going. And so I wanted to reassure her to keep going, because she inspired me to start this channel in the first place too, and not be scared to speak in Russian or make little grammatical mistakes or whatever. It didn't matter. It was just, what mattered was doing something I liked, doing something that was teaching someone cooking technique or whatever, or just information. And I'm just a talkative person, so this is another outlet for me to talk, right? So I sent her a little care package, and she happened to open it on her video vlog. My whole package, everything I sent her, which was mostly kitchen tools. I sent her this dough hook spatula, a brand new set, some other things for the kitchen. And she was pleasantly surprised. So, Ира, большое вам спасибо опять за мотивацию. Спасибо, что вы прорекламировали мой канал на вашем канале. My YouTube subscribers amount, I think, almost tripled just from her showing that my channel, or me personally from my channel, sent her a little care package with cooking things. So I wanted to basically encourage her to also not give up, to not let the outside world deter you from what you really love to do. And I could tell that she loves to cook, and she loves to take care of her family, and she loves doing it on YouTube. And so that was, I don't know, I was just pleasantly surprised that she decided to put it in her video. So very cool that there is a community out there of women, and we never know who we might affect, who we might touch, who might see our video. When I first started this channel, I thought, even if one person is made better out of this, maybe it puts a smile on their face, maybe they find a really cool new interesting recipe or a new tip. If it helps someone, even as one person in one small way, then it's worth it. That's what I said. And to my surprise, the one person that I never thought would watch this channel, just because of technical reasons, is my dad. My dad lives in Ukraine. He's always lived in Ukraine. So my parents are divorced. My mom lives in the United States. My dad still is and always was in Ukraine. And he's had health issues. So he's not the type of person that has like a computer that he logs into or a smartphone that logs into the internet. No, he and I just basically talked through old fashioned. Either I call him on Skype and he usually has to get a neighbor to help him set it up and everything, or just letters and photos back and forth. And his neighbor, who's been helping him while he's been having health issues, somehow found my channel, probably through some of my other relatives that watch it, and brought her smartphone to my dad's apartment, showed him my videos, and he finally got to see my videos, including videos of my son. And maybe some of you don't know, but mail to eastern part of Ukraine does not go through, at least not when I send it from the United States. So, and that's sad. It's very disheartening. My son was born in 2021. Every single baby picture I sent to Ukraine since then, every Christmas card, I'm going to start crying, was returned. So I didn't know if he even saw a photo of him. But then he got to see the video. So let's keep on cooking. That chilled nicely. The whole tray is actually really cold. And I would also recommend keeping it all in the paper it came in until you get it all rolled out onto your floured surface. You have no idea how many times I've had disasters with pie crusts. When I've made them myself, whether I buy a crust or pastry like this. So I'm just sharing so that you all know. Just take the time, you know. You don't need to hurry. You don't need to run around and try to do shortcuts with this kind of thing, because then the time you invested in preparing all your other ingredients, all the other elements of your recipe, you just don't want it to then be completely ruined because you didn't handle the crust correctly. So that's why I took that extra 5 minutes to pop it back in the freezer. If I was like leaving and going somewhere for an hour, I would put it in the fridge. Kind of same idea. Just get back to it and basically start again. So again, I left it on the counter too long and it got too warm. And I think every cook and baker, especially the celebrity ones, I mean, they emphasize it. Like Martha Stewart, for example. I don't know how many times I've seen her videos, and she's always telling people that make sure your pastry is always cold, especially pie crust. The butter needs to be ice cold. The water needs to be ice cold. If it gets melted just from you handling it with your hands, put it back in the fridge. Put it back in the freezer for 30 seconds or something like that. If it's not cold, then it also, the buttery parts of it are not going to, I guess, get fluffy the way they need to. Fluffy and crusty. And with those nice pockets of butter. So I'm going to get a ruler right now, and we're going to see what the proportions of these are. Normally it'd be 2 sheets this size, but instead I have 1. So just for reference, just to give you guys an idea what I'm actually using in case anyone wanted to replicate this recipe. I'm probably going to end up using a lot less of the filling, but the full length of it is 14 inches. 14 by 10 and a half. And then now that I've cut it in half, this one is about 7 inches. And you want the crust to be about an inch bigger. So if this one is almost 7, we want this to be 9. So I need to roll it out to be 9 wide and 12 and a half long. Only one of them, because that's your top layer. So your stuffing is gonna go right here. I'm just gonna mark it. And in the recipe, it says leave an edge. So leave about an inch of an edge. And this one needs to be rolled out bigger. So move all this a little bit out of the way and get to rolling. So another thing I like about cooking, if I wasn't talking to you guys on YouTube, if I was just here in the kitchen by myself, is it's honestly really my time to think. It's my probably only time to think completely without being distracted. Of course, I think in my car, I listen to podcasts and things, especially when I have a long drive to work, to back, stuck in traffic, whatever. but you're also driving a car, so you have to really concentrate on that. What I love about cooking is it's relaxing, and you can just kind of zone out and think, and that's my most creative time. Whether it's, hey, what new recipe do I want to create? What do I think about this? What do I think about that? Listening to music. I love to listen to music too, but like I said, even if I put music on right now, YouTube is going to flag me. But normally I'd be listening to either some kind of Russian music, kind of pop music. Sometimes I like to listen to country music and 90s music, just anything that's relaxing. And sometimes the nostalgia of some of those songs, some of the music, especially 90s music, is nice too. So some people I know love to put on a show or a movie while they're cooking. For me, it's more music. And I would say probably the last couple of years of me cooking, I don't even need music. I'm okay with just my thoughts. And it's funny because there's a movie called All About Women, and the character in there, Sylvia, says, I don't need music when we're talking about the gym. Music is for people who are too scared to be left alone with their thoughts. And I thought, oh, well, that's a good way of putting it, because maybe at this point in my life, I'm not afraid to be alone with my thoughts. I could sit in complete silence. Sometimes I even drive my car in silence. I never used to do that, but I just don't have the radio on or anything, even when I'm alone. Sometimes I literally just need it to be completely quiet, and it's relaxing. So if you've never done that before, try it. So as you saw, I did not use all of the stuffing, probably 2/3. So, but it looks and smells delicious. I don't know if the camera is catching this, but it's very vibrant. And I'm sure if you use fresh spinach, it would be even more vibrant, but it's not necessary. I'm putting my egg wash here. And yeah, I will sanitize this whole table when I'm done. I think when you have a person like me who is very particular about a clean kitchen, I'm pretty particular about sanitizing things too. Oh yes. Especially with a little one in the house. You can't sanitize enough. Okay. So this actually is looking like it's actually a little bit over. So I probably didn't have to roll it out as much. But if you come across that too and it's uneven, then just cut it. Probably a pizza roller, pizza cutter is probably even better. Yep. But I'm not going to throw this dough away. This will be used for something else. I can probably make a fritter out of it. Maybe just roll it back up, roll it out into like a cinnamon roll shape, and then you can fill it with anything: jam, sugar and cinnamon roll spices. Maybe even make a little apple pastry. Just put some baked apples in there. Don't waste good pastry dough, is what I'm saying. Save it. Martha Stewart would say the same thing, and so would Ina. So, and by the way, I don't talk about, promoting this channel that much. My goal here is not to get to 1 million subscribers. If one day I do, that would be very flattering. But my goal, and I've noticed this, especially since so many times I just wanted to give up, is really just to build a community, share ideas, positivity, share recipes. And it's honestly just a hobby for me, so it's relaxing. Both the cooking and then the editing when it doesn't take 3 or 4 days, right? And rewatching some of those videos back, it's really fun. I like to rewatch stuff from Christmas, and my son rewatches them with me, and he's just, Mama's cooking, Mama's talking. He loves it, and he pops into some of the videos. I might include him in more content, but that really is my goal, just to share recipes and share my love of cooking, to either inspire someone who loves to cook and are already good at it, but they want to expand, their recipe portfolio and their techniques, or they just enjoy watching cooking, or someone that's a brand new cook or is not very good at cooking or never thought they could cook, and to show you that it's more simple than you think, And I started cooking probably at the age of 4 with my grandmother. At that point, she was retired when I was 4 years old. She was retired, so she took care of me up until I went to first grade or kindergarten, and then it was first grade. But even after school, she was always in the kitchen, and she was always willing to teach me and include me. And I really appreciate that now, because I realize not many children have that kind of childhood growing up. You have, especially in the United States, a lot of, kids that I knew in school grew up both parents working and nobody had time to cook. And so they did not have a grandmother in the kitchen teaching them anything. Maybe some did, but not everyone. So I was lucky to have that. And she taught me everything from plucking a chicken, degutting a chicken, because in the Soviet Union and in Ukraine, the chicken just came almost whole. Just the only thing that was missing is the head. But you have to take everything out. Sometimes there'd still be feathers. And like she just had the patience to sit there and teach me. Taught me how to make different dumplings and also roll out the dough. And it was really a gift. And so another reason why I do this is just a legacy to her. And so that my son, as he grows up, he can also reference these videos and to see that, he comes from a family that loves to cook. Even though he's a boy, it still doesn't matter. Anybody can cook. No matter what age you are, you can always learn and you can always improve. And then you can always teach someone else. And I think to me, it's the cooking together is what creates the tradition. And I love that. So here's what I'm going to do. This is not moving even with a spatula. So I'm going to lift this, put parchment paper on here. And again, as I was filling it up with the stuffing here, it also got too warm, so that I know if I were to put it in the oven right now like this, it just probably would not puff up as nicely as if it got a little bit colder. So again, anytime your dough gets too warm and hard to handle, like this right here, just know you always have the option to put it back in the fridge for maybe 20 minutes, freezer maybe 5 minutes. And that's what I'm going to do. This is going to go in the freezer to get a little bit colder. But before I do that, I'll just show you what it looks like so far. There we go. And before I put it in the oven, I will wash it with the egg wash on top. I use the egg wash to seal the edges, but then you can also, to make it extra shiny, glossy, I'm just doing my indents again. We will top it off with some more egg wash after it comes back out of the freezer. All right, it's chilled. It's just about 5 minutes in the freezer and it got nice and chilled again. So that's great. You just want it to be cold to the touch. It's got to go in cold into a hot oven. So I'm going to do the egg wash. Don't overdo the egg wash. You just want it to be a very thin layer. Otherwise, you're going to have pockets or basically puddles of egg wash, and they're going to prevent the crust from getting to the crispy level that you want it to be. I also have 3 more recipes to make from this cookbook. I mean, I really browsed through it. It was a gift. The book itself was a gift many years ago. Probably a Mother's Day gift. I can't remember. But I love Irina Garten. I've always enjoyed her show when she had a cooking show on a regular basis. I like all of her series that she has going on HBO as well. But there's nothing like actually trying to make these recipes yourself so that you can actually enjoy the food that she's talking about and the different cuisines and the different techniques. And she knows what she's talking about when it comes to French food. She's lived in France many years ago, traveled all throughout France, and she's herself a professional chef. I mean, she says she's self-taught, but she really has great technique, great recipes, and a great message as well. I love her show. So this is the book, Barefoot in Paris. She also has a bunch of other cookbooks. I mean, different topics, different themes. But there are 2 more recipes I want to try in here that are dinner recipes: a winter squash soup and cauliflower gratin And then the third recipe is a pear clafoutis, so a pear pie. So I'm thinking this is something I might try to bake up closer to the holidays. So it's now covered. Again, oven is at 375. We're gonna put it in at 30 minutes, check. If it's not brown and golden enough, we'll leave it for another 10 minutes. So 40 minutes total. Ta-da! This is the final product. It baked for a total of 35 minutes in my oven at 375. Again, your oven may vary a little bit and may vary based on what kind of tray you use too. So just anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes. Now I'm excited to take a little bite of this and see what the flavors are in this French spinach pastry pie. It's moist in the middle, very crunchy, golden brown on the outside, still a little bit warm. I can see a pine nut right here. Surprisingly very light, even though it's pastry dough. The spinach is really flavorful, and you do taste the spinach mainly. Just the tiniest hint of the onion, tiniest hint of the nutmeg. I don't really even taste the cheese. I just taste the saltiness. So it's almost like a quiche Lorraine, but without all the extra eggs. Very delicious. This is something I'm going to make again. And I love that it's green. It'll go well on a holiday table, a Christmas table. You can even make it in the shape of a Christmas tree if you want it, or a leaf. It just, even the presentation is so nice. It looks fancy, even though it's pretty easy from store-bought pastry dough. So, well, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for chatting with me. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see next. Like I said, I'm going to do 3 more French videos, 2 of them dinners and a dessert. And then I'll attempt my hand at making creme brulee at home as well. But this recipe is perfect for any kind of holiday or entertaining. So I hope you try it. I hope you go get yourself either Irina's cookbook or any cookbook and challenge yourself. And cook with your loved ones, cook with your kids. Enjoy yourself in the kitchen. So keep on cooking and keep on living to the fullest. Thanks for watching.